Assalamualaikum. Welcome to the computer simulation course. My name is Professor Zahari Taha. Let's talk a little bit about this course. The aim of this course is to provide a clear understanding of what is required for you to be able to successfully develop and use simulation models. Specifically, the objective is first to understand how simulation software works and also the various type of software that are available for simulation modeling. You should, at the end of the course, also know the processes involved in developing a simulation project. You should be able to develop an appropriate model for a problem, and after developing the model, you should be able to collect and analyze data which is required for the simulation model. This is very important because the data will be able to will able you to model the problem very closely to the reality. Then you are also able to perform experiments and obtain results from the experiments and make your own conclusions. And also you must be able to verify and validate the simulation model so that it gives you the confidence to make decisions. And finally, you should be able to manage a simulation project successfully. So what is simulation? Well, it is actually experiments that you do on computer. And basically what you are doing is what you're doing is imitating operation system or any system as it progresses through time. Why are you imitating on a computer? Because you want to get a better understanding of the system, and hopefully you'll be able to improve the system or resolve issues in the system. And what does it involve? It involves defining, designing, and constructing a model or representation of the system that you have identified. And after you have developed this model, you will want to do the experiments, collect and analyze data for the model that you have developed, and the results that you get from the experiment can be analyzed for you to make some kind of decisions. The question is then, why is there a need to simulate? Well, any system, and particularly production systems, we can observe that there are variability in the system. And by variability means that there are predictable stoppages. For example, like when you want to stop a line and you want to do maintenance, or you want to do setting up, or you want to do changing of tooling and so on. And also there are unpredictable situation when there's a breakdown of equipment. For example, here in this case, we can see that we can simulate AGV system where sometimes where the machines break down, or the machines are being stopped for setting up or for tool changing and so on. And you can see the yellow color here is when the machine is actually stopping. It could be unpredictable, it could be predictable. So in this case, it has been programmed for unpredictable background. So you can see suddenly another machine will stop, and the AGV will not stop at that machine that has stopped, but actually go on to the next machine and so on and so forth. Another reason why we simulate is because processes are interconnected. So interconnected means that the system or the processes are interconnected to each other or connected to each other. In this case, you can see the process of each station or each counter is the same, or if we fix it as the same, then the total output will be constant, and the process time for the total process time for each person will be the same. But if we look at this another situation where there is variability in the processes, for example, which in this case we have actually set an exponential distribution for each process, and you can see that range of variability in the processing time or total processing time for each person. It can range from 50 minutes to range from 27 minutes to, even in the extreme, takes up to 50 minutes, or a total of the whole process can go up to 150 minutes. The third reason for simulating is complexity. So it is possible that each component must go through each process or to different processes, and these are all interconnected. Like this particular one, we have 20 interconnections and can be very complex. So if you simulate, you can see that in this production that the worker is having to go to so many machines, because one part may go to 3 machines, one part may go 2 machines, and in many different orders. So this will make the whole the processes, the whole process very complex, the production very complex. And lastly, we simulate also because of dynamic complexity. What we mean by dynamic complexity is that you have feedback. So it is very difficult to predict performance when there is a feedback in the system, or when changes have to be made while the process is ongoing. So in this case, for example, we have a situation where processor 1 churns out the parts, but at processor 2, which does the quality check, there will be a rejection, and that rejection has to be put in the queue, which has to go back to processor 1 in order to be reworked. And then you can see that this gets very complex if there is a lot of this feedback in the system. So why are we doing simulation? Because simulation models are able to represent all this variability that we have discussed before, the interconnectedness and the complexity of a system in a mathematical form, and we're able to simulate all of this to predict the system performance, and we're able to compare alternative system design, and then we can look at the effect of alternative policy on the system performance, and we can make decision on which would be the best policy for our production system. So what are the advantages of simulation? First of all, it's cost. It's very expensive to stop existing operation and then conduct your experiments. But if you were to do simulation, then you will not affect the existing operation. So it will not cost you time and will not cost you money because of operations having to stop. Secondly, is time. It's basically time consuming to experiment with real system. As you can see in the McDonald's video, that they have to have a lot of people there, all the workers there, although they just draw the chalks, they just draw on the layout with a chalk on the tennis court. But if it's with a real factory, then they have to move the equipment around, which is going to be time consuming. Whereas in simulation, you can perform the evaluation in minutes. And that is control. You can control all the conditions so that you can make direct comparison of alternatives. But in reality, in a factory setting or in a actual service setting, you can't actually control a lot of things. You have to control a lot of things, and then it will actually affect operations. So, and finally, when you are actually building a new factory, and this factory does not exist yet, or this the operations does not exist yet, this restaurant does not exist yet, this system does not exist yet, so you can actually do simulation from the very beginning to see how your system will perform. Now, there are other modeling approaches. You can do very simple paper calculations, basically actually calculating by hand the time taken for each processes, and then totaling up the total time and put in some variation in your calculations or randomize your calculations. You can do that in spreadsheet models, which basically means taking the simple paper calculations into a spreadsheet. But also you can do very complex mathematical programming and heuristic methods, just like linear programming, dynamic programming, genetic algorithms, particle swarm. But you will face issues because there will be difficulty in the modeling the variability. It can get very complex. It will require certain assumptions, and the mathematical equations can be very difficult to understand and actually to realize in the form of a computer program. From a management perspective, simulation allows you to present your ideas to the management. And in the process of developing and running the model, you are able to bring all the people in the organization and discuss all the potential issues that may arise, and simulate it and be able to show to the management all these issues and how you could be able to solve these issues. And in addition, visual communication is more effective. Running the display, running the simulation with animation in front of the management will make them more convinced. And simulation also will allow you to share or allow others to share concerns and allow you to test ideas and show the results of the ideas that you are experimenting with. As an exercise, please take a typical operation system. For example, that's something that you have observed before, for example, like in a bank or supermarket or in a fast food restaurant, and write an essay identifying the elements of variability, interconnectedness, and complexity in these operations.